colossal, man. I be feeling like one of them ball playing, like Bird or Magic or something. But if I leave, the fans still gonna love me, man.
Hey there, Monster fans. Welcome to Trilogy Effect. Today we're going to be diving into the heart of the Monsterverse where Titans clash and civilizations crumble. Today we're going to be ranking all 5 of the Monsterverse movies. So that's going to include Kong Skull Island. That's going to include Godzilla. That's going to include Godzilla King of Monsters. That's going to include Godzilla versus Kong. And that's going to include Godzilla Kong The New Empire. So the Monsterverse first debuted in 2014 with Godzilla 2014, and since then it's basically expanded over 5 movies, with Godzilla and King Kong being our main characters. I want to go ahead and start the rankings off with number 5 being Godzilla King of Monsters. I know, suspenseful intro. I know I'm not the only one who thought this movie was a little bit convoluted. The visuals were really good. I did like the fight scenes, but there was a little bit too much focus on the human characters, in my opinion. And I am actually one of the few people who like the human scenes in these movies. I don't mind seeing the humans every once in a while. They are pretty much the only ones who have any personality. Godzilla literally just destroys stuff. Kong has a little bit of a personality, but the humans are really how we contrast his personality. I feel like there wasn't a lot of that in King of Monsters. I did think it was cool to see Ghidorah. I did think it was cool to see all those other Titan cameos. That was all pretty cool. But ultimately, even though this movie had pretty good scenes and visuals, I think overall we have to put Godzilla King of Monsters at last place. For my number 4, I am going to have to go with Godzilla 2014. This is another one of the movies that a lot of people thought there was too much human scenes, and I will admit this is one of the heavy human-sided kaiju movies in the Monsterverse. But I think it's kind of necessary because it's the introduction movie, and it basically introduces audiences to this modern interpretation of Godzilla. A lot of people had heard of him, but there were still several people, believe it or not, who had not seen Godzilla before this movie. And for a lot of younger people, this is going to be their main exposure to Godzilla. The movie had a pretty serious tone. It also had, and this is pretty common, most of these movies have had great visual effects, and the action sequences are really good. I liked the human plot in here, but I could see why a lot of them didn't. I also think that this movie, even though it was the first one, it doesn't really have an iconic villain like the other movies have. It's just, Godzilla versus those 2 random kaijus who were just trying to make more kaiju. So it's like, even King of Monsters, it had Ghidorah in there. So that's why I would probably put Godzilla here. It's still a pretty good movie. I defend it more than some people, but when I look at these movies, I probably have to put this one in 4th place, but it's a good spot to be. For my 3rd place, I'm probably going to go with Godzilla versus Kong. Now, when this movie was being advertised, you thought it was the marketing for this movie was pretty crazy. You had people rooting for Godzilla, King Kong. I hadn't really seen anything like this in the world since Captain America Civil War, when people were going Team Iron Man, Team Cap. So people were really going Team Godzilla, Team Kong, who's gonna win? And I'm not gonna lie, I was Team Kong, and I really wanted Kong to whoop Godzilla because I had seen Kong Skull Island, and I really liked that movie, and I had seen Godzilla, and I'm just like, that guy isn't really that interesting. But so when I seen the movie, I saw Kong basically got whooped the whole movie, but this movie still delivered on the monster battles, while it also had some lore drops in the movie that basically expanded the Monsterverse. I think this was the first movie that we saw where we had seen how the human technology had jumped And I kind of was like, where is all this technology coming from? But overall, it didn't distract from the action, which was spectacular. Godzilla versus Kong gives you lots of Godzilla versus Kong, although there isn't a lot of plot in here. And I do think you're really just here for the fights. I think this movie still deserves our number 3 spot just because Godzilla versus Kong really took over the world during marketing. And I just felt like it was everywhere where people were trying to figure out who was going to win in this fight. And people were basically making videos about who's won in the past and each of their chances and tactical abilities. I thought it was so cool. Up next for my number 2 is going to be the latest in Monsterverse entry. I thought Godzilla Kong The New Empire was really good. I have heard that it's kind of mixed. Like if you go to Rotten Tomatoes, the review score is very low, but you'll see that the audience score is very high. And I think people really just liked going in here and seeing monsters fight monsters. Like we got to see more of the apes like Kong. We got to see Kong basically get a little Atreus. Like if you played God of War 2014, I think, Kong, and I forget that little monkey's name. It starts with an S. They don't really say names in the movies like that. So he really gave me like Kratos and Atreus vibes. I thought it was pretty cool seeing another world under the hollow earth. What else is here? The crystal stuff with the tribes was a little wonky. The human plot I thought wasn't too bad. The humor was balanced. And I liked Shimu. Scar King was a little bit of a letdown. Like he really wasn't rocking for real. Like Kong would have whooped him if it wasn't for the intervention of Shimu. The big fight at the end in the city was pretty cool. I wish we would have got a little bit more information on Shimu and what's going on and how powerful that kaiju has to be to have caused the Ice Age, and how it's also rumored that Shimu was the one who put Ghidorah in the ice. All of that is unconfirmed in this movie. And it kind of, leaves the door open to it be expanded on in future movies, but it's like kind of where do you go from here? Like, I know a lot of people were talking about bringing Destroyer into the next movie, and I'm not super familiar with Destroyer, but I mean, it has to be pretty strong when we've already beat Ghidorah, we've already beat the strongest ape, and we have Shimu out here. So who's really going to be rocking with us? We have allies on allies on allies on top of the humans who have proved that they can create technology that can enhance kaiju. Looking at Kong's super arm armor. And now getting to number 1, I have to go with Kong Skull Island. I tell you, when I saw this movie in 2017, I thought this movie was so good. Mind you, this was during the height of Marvel. So in this movie, you have Samuel L. Jackson, Nick Fury, you have Tom Hiddleston. Loki, you have Brie Larson, who is Captain Marvel. And it's just a lot of people on top of that aren't even in Marvel who were in this movie. And I just thought it was so cool. I thought Kong was so cool. The island setting was so cool. And it was a great contrast to Godzilla in the city. And I just thought the way Kong had more of a personality and how he just seemed way more interesting than Kong and then Godzilla. You'll notice that I kind of ranked the Kong included movies higher than the Godzilla only movies. I guess I'm biased. Even to this day, I am still King Kong. I'm still Team Kong. And I thought this movie was really good. It really made the humans the main villain in this movie. So this is kind of like a human versus environment versus Kong type thing, where at the end of the movie, most of the main characters are on Kong's side. Then you have Samuel L., who is still one of the greatest actors, who just goes left out of nowhere and becomes the villain in this movie. I like this movie. I don't really like how they killed off the tribes in the future movies, how they left only one of them alive. But I think Kong is a great movie. And whenever I rewatch this series, I watch this movie first because it happens first chronologically. So if you don't mind the 1960s, 70s vibe that's in here, I know it's post-Vietnam or whatever. This movie is a great foot to anyone who's getting into the Monsterverse, and I think it'll get them hooked. My name's Trilogy. This is my channel. I do movies, video games, all kinds of stuff like that, music. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me what's your favorite Monsterverse movie, what's your ranking down below, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace. And that's a wrap on our journey through the Monsterverse. I hope you enjoyed the epic battles, breathtaking visuals, and the sheer excitement of it all. If you're hungry for more Monster Madness, don't forget to check out our other videos for in-depth analysis, behind-the-scene insights. Thanks for joining us on our wild ride. And remember, like, share, and subscribe to stay up to date with all things Monsterverse. Until next time, keep embracing the chaos and may the monsters reign supreme. Trilogy out.
I love the hustle, man. I be feeling like one of them ball playing, like Bird or Magic or something. But if I leave, the fans still gonna love me, man?